go. Hey, it might start the echo thing. Hopefully
That's
it doesn't.
all right. I'm
Okay.
gonna hang up now, Randy.
All
All
right,
right.
thank
Got
you.
good lighting.
Yes,
I don't
it,
know if this is. It's more about the audio, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds great as well.
Hey, Randy.
Yeah, yeah. Here, maybe get a little more light on this.
I'll have to bring my dad on after the interview.
All right.
But yeah, I'm gonna mute myself. Everything's recording, so we're good to go.
All right.
So is it recording now, Randy?
Yeah, take it away.
Okay, Dad, why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself, give us your date of birth and how old you are.
Yeah, my name is Washington Talbot Hazard. I was born in Ark, Virginia, August 12th, 1938. I'm 83 today. Tomorrow I'll be 84.
All right. Now, your parents' names?
My dad was Leon Talbot Hazard. My mother was Mary Catherine Hazard. Mary Catherine Lemon Hazard.
Okay. Now, you said you were born in Virginia. Is there anything you recall about your time in Virginia when you were young?
Well, when I left Virginia, I was about 3 weeks old. So, other than our visits there in the summer and at Christmas time, I can't really recall a childhood there other than running around playing with my cousins when we were on vacation.
Okay. Now, were your parents originally from Virginia?
No, my mom was from Virginia. Dad was born in Harvard, Massachusetts.
Okay, and how often would you go back to visit where you were born, Dad? Do you recall going back as a kid to visit?
Yeah, every summer. And then as my grandparents got older, we started going every Christmas.
Okay, and growing up, do you remember hearing any stories about your ancestors?
Dad always talked about the Hazard family and, you know, not too much history on my mother's side, but Dad always, talked about the Hazard family and this and that.
Okay, and what did your parents do for a living?
Dad was a tool maker, first class machinist, and mom was a homemaker.
Okay, now would you say your parents were religious? Was there a religious background?
Dad believed in the golden rule, but I wouldn't say he was that religious, nor was my mother, although Ma did go to church quite frequently.
Okay, and what about political beliefs? Or any political organizations were they involved with?
No, me and Mom would kind of work for different Democrats in Cambridge, particularly Tip O'Neill.
Okay. And what relatives did you have contact with growing up?
Well, probably the closest one was my first cousin, Alan Blue. He was my Aunt Carrie's son, youngest son, and he was like an older brother. He was 4 years older than I am.
And where did he live?
He lived in Harvard, Mass.
Okay. And do you remember your grandparents?
Yes,
What were their names?
Alan Horace Hazard, Martha Hazard, and Washington Caruso Lemon, and Eliza Jane Lemon.
Okay. All right. Now tell us about your siblings.
Well, I had a stepsister, Gloria. She was the oldest. Then my sister Lenora. Then myself. Then Warren, Ivan, Wayne, and Kenny.
Okay.
Oh, I missed Joanne. I'm sorry. After me was my sister Joanne.
All right. Now, who out of your siblings would you say you were closest to?
Probably Warren. We're closer in age and
What
have
kind
a
of
lot in
things?
common.
What kind of things would you do together?
Just kind of hang out, talk about cars. We both enjoyed Cadillacs, so we are both Cadillac fiends. Other than that, we as kids we go crabbing, do stuff, like fishing, crab, and stuff like that.
Okay. And what about any conflicts that you guys had growing up?
No, we never had any conflicts.
Okay. Can you describe the house you grew up in? In your bedroom, maybe?
Well, there were several houses. The longest one when we lived on 6 Ivy Street in Cambridge. Dad owned that house. And then we moved to Hubbard Avenue in Cambridge. And my room was sort of in the attic. And I had an old Zenith radio up there. I used to listen to Howlin' Wolf from Del Rio, Texas.
Wow. Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman Jack.
What about the family's economic circumstances? Do you recall having hard times?
Yeah,
Were there a lot of things you went without?
Dad made good money, but with 8 kids, it was kind of tough. But we ate well. We survived, and most of the time we did pretty well. We always pretty much had a car. You know, one of the few families in the neighborhood that had a car. Dad loved Hudsons, so we had a lot of Hudsons and whatnot.
Okay, and what were some of your responsibilities or duties around the
Oh
household?
man, everything. I used to have to, in the winter, keep the coal stove going
And
before we go to bed.
what was the process of that like?
Well, before you went to bed, you had what they call banquet. So that would be putting in a couple of shovelful of coals, turn down the damper, and other than that, I had to mow the lawn, trim the hedges, take out the barrels,
Okay.
stuff like that.
And what sort of activities would you do as a family together?
Oh, a lot of things. We'd go on a lot of picnics. Dad was always interested in historic sites, so we'd travel to like Plymouth, Mass, and different places. New Bedford, Mass, which was a big whaling center. Excuse me. And just a lot of interesting stuff. We always did a lot of family things going up to my grandparents' home in Harvard, Mass. And he had an apple orchard, and we go up there and eat apples until we were sick and stuff like that.
All right. And so, what about any special food or dishes that you remember from your childhood? Any traditional meals?
Oh man, my mom was a fabulous cook, and I can remember homemade Boston baked beans, codfish cakes, and crab cakes, and fried oysters. So I have a lot of good food memories.
And what about holiday foods like New Year's,
Oh
Christmas,
man,
Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was a bounty of food, man. LT had about 3 or 4 pies and 2, 3 different cakes and nuts and fruit and you name it. It was soup to nuts.
And so, what about growing up in Cambridge? What was it like racially, the neighborhood?
Well, it was a mixed neighborhood. Dad had 8 kids. There was an Irish family around the corner, the Dohertys. They were 11, and then the Italian family next to them, and they were 8. So it was pretty well mixed neighborhood. But in grammar school, I was the only black male in my class until the 6th grade. But I got along well. Some of them Irish boys was pretty tough, but I learned how to handle them. And, we got along all right. Mr. Doherty, he was a nice guy. He worked on the Boston Fish Pier, and he'd come by and leave my dad fish, lobster, scallops, things like that.
That was a neighbor of yours?
He lived right around the corner. He had the Dohertys.
And you mentioned your grammar school. What was the name of your grammar school?
Peabody Grammar School, Linnean Street, Cambridge, Mass.
Do you have any teachers or favorite subjects from that school?
I did well in English. I loved English and math. And my favorite teacher, I think, was Miss McGee in the 5th grade.
Okay. Were you teased or bullied at all?
Not really. Not really. I could handle myself pretty well. So.
Do you recall any friends from that grammar school?
Oh, yeah. Italian kid named David Salto. He was first generation. His parents came over from Italy. And the original name was Salto Macchio, but they shortened it to Salto.
Okay. And what kind of things would you guys do together, like on your spare time? Any hobbies or
We
games that
we
you guys
ride
do?
bikes. We ride all over Cambridge, and play baseball, stuff like that.
Okay. And now, when you kind of reach your teenage years, did you have any conflict with any of your siblings or your parents? Was there anything tough about, growing pains in your teenage years, pops, in your high school or whatnot?
Oh yeah, I was feeling my oats about 13, and me and my dad used to get into it, boy. And I think I've got the best of that situation.
Did you play any sports in high school?
I played football, and that was about it.
Okay, and what about girlfriends from high school? You recall any?
Nah, not really. I went out a couple of times, but I went to all male high school, so
Okay.
didn't have too many girlfriends at that time.
Did you go to a prom or any dance? Can you remember any dates you had?
Redhead.
Never went to a prom.
Okay. And what about working as a teenager? You have any
Oh
part-time jobs or
man,
anything?
a bunch of them. I did wax floors, mop floors, wash windows, shovel snow. I had a lot of hustles.
But you didn't have like any regular kind of part-time job at one place. You just kind of
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I worked at the Parker House in Boston when I was about 15.
Tell us about that.
Oh, that was a good job, man. The Chandlers, my brother-in-law's family, they were big time waiters at the Parker House in Boston.
That's where the Boston cream pie was made, right, Paul?
Right,
Named after
and
that?
yep, in Boston, Parker House rolls.
Do you
So,
remember what they paid you? How much?
well, I think I was making about $1.25 an hour.
Do you
But
remember
I,
like
I
what?
used to make a lot of money on the side though because I was what they call a food runner. I'd had to bring food from the main kitchen up to a separate restaurant they had called the Revere Room.
Okay.
And all the guys in the main kitchen, they would have me picking up numbers in the Revere Room and bringing it back down to them. So I was essentially a bookie.
Do you recall what you would
I
spend
made
your
more
money
money doing that than all of
on?
that.
What would you spend your money on? Anything
Back
specific?
then, I liked clothes. I always liked clothes, and I think the last suit Dad bought me was 13 when I graduated from grammar school. So other than that, I bought all my own clothes from then on in.
Randy wants to ask you about the Candle House in Williamsburg.
Not the candle at Chownings. What is it,
Did,
Randy?
did you work at anywhere in Williamsburg?
Yeah, I worked at Chownings. I worked at the Williamsburg Inn.
What kind of work was that, Pop?
Way to work.
Okay. And that would be when you would go down during the summer?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, how old were you when you did start dating, Pop?
Oh man, I was dating at 14, but nothing serious,
All right. Do you remember what your first date was? Did you have any
A
rules?
serious date, I was 15, and I was going with a 19-year-old telephone operator,
What was her name?
Dolores DeBritto.
And that would be like your first real date.
Yeah.
Okay. Would
Yeah.
you remember where you took her the first time, or where she
I
took
better
you?
not say.
Say no more. Say no more. Did you have any rules? Were your parents strict about your dating?
Not really. Dad, he tried to tell me to be in by midnight or something, but there was a skating rink called the Rollaway down in Revere Beach, Massachusetts. But there was also a nightclub called the Rollaway. So I tell Dad I'm going to the skating rink, the Rollaway, but I'd be going to the nightclub where they was playing some mean jams, So
What kind of
and
music?
that didn't let out to 2 in the morning, so I didn't want to be the flake, So I kind of get home about 3 in the morning, had to sneak in. One night I had to climb a ladder to the second floor. Good thing they was painting the house. They had the ladder outside the pantry. I had to climb up the ladder into the pantry and made it to my bedroom safe.
Do you recall what kind of music they played at the club?
Oh
Was it dancing?
man,
And what kind of dancing were you
it was
doing?
swing music, R&B, you name it.
And
It
you would
was
get
that
out
was a
there and do your dance?
boogie on down. You know, but it was tough. It was a rough joint too because you know they fight would break out in a heartbeat. You know, so.
Okay. Now, what about after graduating high school? Did you go on to any further education?
Yeah, I went to Northeastern for a minute or two, and then you know I took courses here and there. Took a course at Harvard, and that was when I was with the Urban League, and they had a Ford Foundation grant, and it was working towards a EDU, but the grant ran out before I completed, so
Okay.
I ended that.
Okay. Now let's talk about your marriages.
Oh Lord.
Let's start with your first and work your way down.
Well, the first one was your mom, Ruthie, and I got married at my sister Joanne's apartment. She and Kenny Godfrey, and she was the first marriage, and that went well. You know, we had a good 5 6 years. You know, and then I don't know what happened. It just went
That's right.
went south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
And then the second one was Erica's mom, Mabel.
well, hold on. Before we go to Erica's mom, how did you and Ruth meet? Do you recall?
Yeah, I see Ruthie around every now and then. And one night I went into this nightclub called Slade's, and she was sitting at the stool at the bar beside a guy named Paul Silas, Tall Paul. He was a basketball NBA, and I kind of sat on the other side and was whispering in her ear, and she left with me.
I think you're leaving something out though, because there's a relationship there with my Ruthie's brother and your sister.
Yeah,
Let's talk about that.
Rico and Joanne, they had a thing for a long while, you know. She finally broke up with Rico and married Kenny Godfrey.
Okay. All right. So now let's hear about Erica's mom, Mabel.
Erica's mom, I was working with the Urban League, and me and Ivan wasn't doing anything. I said, come on, Ivan, we got to ride on down to Detroit and had an Urban League meeting. It was called ERCOT, Eastern Region Community Organizers Training. And kids from, not kids, but young adults from all over Eastern U.S. were going down there to Detroit for training as community organizers. So I said, come on, Ivan, ride with me. Another guy, Ronnie Robinson, we all rode down. So while I was at class, Ivan, he running around the hotel, the Cadillac Hotel in Detroit. So he come running up town. He says, man, I met these two fine sisters, you know. So I said, okay. So after the class and everything went down and met her mom and mom's sister, Justine, yeah. So that night we all went out to Belle Isle in Detroit and had a good old time, you know. So after 3 or 4 days in Detroit, I read it, you know, the meetings had ended and everything. So I said, well, you know, what you doing, Mabel? So she said, well, if you want me to go to Boston, I'll go. So I went back to Boston with her.
Wow, that's great.
So after about a year, we got married, and that was that.
Wow.
And then during that time, I got a job in Africa, and I went over to Africa for about 2 years. At the last year, into the last year, I sent for Mabel, and she came over there, and Erica was conceived. I wanted her to be born there, but her mother was concerned about nutrition, you know, good food, fresh milk, stuff like that. So we left there, and it was in March, and got back. It was cold, man. I'm used to that Congo heat, And we sold the house in Dorchester and moved to her aunt's house in San Francisco. Her aunt name was Earlene Allen.
Okay.
And Erica was born at San Francisco General.
Hmm. And then your current wife.
And then Rhonda, that's a long story. You know, Mabel and I had broken up, and I was living by myself in Walnut Creek, and Mabel, and Rhonda's husband were both from Detroit, and I think they knew each other, knew of each other, and he unfortunately died in a boating accident. And some of his friends came up that knew Mabel, but she was a single woman, and they got off the plane a little warm, kind of, and she asked if they could stay with me, so I did. So that night I was going to a club in Oakland, and from Walnut Creek into Oakland, you had to go right through this town called Orinda, where Rhonda was living. And they said, "Oh, tell, please stop. We're right here." That's it. So they called her and put me on the phone to get directions. And I said, "Man, that sounds sweet, you know." So anyhow, we stopped by the house. I met her family, everybody. But it was a sad occasion for them, and I'm ready to party. So I'm telling the guy, you know, let's go. So that was that. And about a month or so later, I gave her a call and said, you know, would you like to get together for dinner? And she said, yeah. So that's that.
All right. Now let's talk about the birth of your children.
Oh boy.
Do you recall, like?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
you was born. I brought you home in a red Ford pickup truck. I had that job working for this Harvard professor. They were building prefabricated housing in Vietnam.
Wow. What year was that?
Oh, that was '69.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you was born April '70. So, like I said, I had the company Ford pickup truck. So you came home in a Ford pickup truck. They say, "Go ahead, Tal, take the truck." So,
how old were you at the time?
Oh man, let's see. In '70, I was 32.
Okay, can you describe how you were feeling? Did it?
Oh man, I was happy. Man, I had me a boy, big old curly head boy. I was real happy, huh?
Did it made you change any?
Yeah, it did. I could settle down a whole lot, man, because you know, I was still a little shaky, you know, but that tamed me down a whole lot. I just wanted to do right and raise a good kid, and I think I did pretty well.
Now, what about E? Tell us about that. How old were you? What was the year?
Erica was born in '76, and we were still living with her mother's aunt. So then I had to find a place for us, and got on the BOT train, that Bay Area Rapid Transit BART. I went out to Walnut Creek, found a nice apartment out there, and we stayed out there for about 6 months, but it was a kind of adult community, and you know, there was kind of hinting that I had to roll. So then we moved into Oakland, and we lived there for 2-3 years, and near Lake Merritt, and they had a park there. Erica used to love park. I couldn't go by a park without half stopping.
So what kind of things would you do with us as children, Pop? Anything that we used to like to do specifically?
Well, you were in Massachusetts. Erica was in California. So when you came out, we do things. I put you in the back of Rhonda's Jensen. She had a yellow Jensen convertible, and you guys would sit in the back, no seatbelts, nothing, top down, sun blazing on you. We drive up, go to this place up near Sacramento. We just ride around, have fun, see a park, pull over, you know. And then you used to come, and we hooked you up with the YMCA there in Oakland and had you running around Lake Merritt and all kinds of stuff. But you know,
Okay. And so, how would you describe our personalities when we were younger?
well, you were always cool. Erica, I know one time we went to, took a ferry over to Sausalito, and I got a picture there, and Erica's all weeping, and you looking at her all chagrined and everything, you know, so. But you guys got along well, and good kids, no problems really.
Would you say we changed in our adulthoods at all, or?
Not really, I can still see the person that you were, you know.
Okay. Any disciplinarian issues with us, or?
Not with you. I had to get the spoonsy for Erica a couple of times.
What would you say was the most difficult part about being a parent?
Oh man, I wouldn't call it difficult. You know, there were trying times, but yeah, they were, all in all, I loved it. It went good.
Can you say what maybe the most satisfying part of being a parent, raising the children?
And just seeing you guys grow, becoming adults on your own, having your own families and everything, and
Okay.
you know, it's a lot to look back on.
Now, I recall hearing a story about you ripping off the roof at some juke joint down in Virginia. Tell us about, you know, some wild stories about like when you were just young and just having fun, no real responsibilities.
Could write a book about
Did
that.
you have like one particular story that stands out that, you know,
Well,
maybe
you
even,
mentioned-
maybe even that incident about pulling the roof off the tree? You know?
Well, it was a porch roof. And
Okay.
it was a kind of an after-hour joint down like they have in Virginia. So they always had a little gambling and you get you a shot and whatnot. And I had lost my money. I was playing that blackjack. So I was mad, you know. So I come outside and I look up at the roof. I said, I bet I can pull this sucker down. So I could jump up and grab it, and sure enough, man, that roof came down. Folks was running out of there left and right. Oh well, they still talk about that.
Yeah, let me ask you that. Do you have any stories about running into any celebrities down there, or?
Oh man, yeah, and you know they had a club down there called the Wagon Wheel.
Uh-huh.
And man, yeah, I met everybody from Mike and Tina Turner to Joe Tex to Otis Redding, you name it.
Okay. Now describe the type of people. Like, were they dressed nice, or
Oh, the celebs?
the people that were frequenting these like, were you the best dressed there? Like, describe.
Always. Yeah, always.
And
But
why was
everybody got clean back then, you know.
Okay.
They did the best, you know. So,
Okay.
but me and my cousin Frankie Lemon and Ulysses Davenport, we always dressed sharp.
Okay. Now, what can you say was really the most satisfying thing about your life? Like, what are you most happy about your accomplishments in life?
Just making it to 84. You know, I never thought I was going to make it past 25, but here I am.
Well, why is that, Pop?
I was kind of on the wild side, you know, so.
I mean, without getting, you know, too involved with that, you know, you just feel like you were going down maybe not such a good path. And
That was part of it.
And what do you think changed your direction in life?
Well, having you for one thing, you know, and then getting a good job with the Urban League, that kind of helped a lot too, you know.
Okay. Now, what would you say was maybe the most challenging part of your life? Like where you know, weren't sure, you know, if things were going to work out right for you? Can you point to one?
Probably, you know, little time after you were born, trying to get a decent job and everything, you know, that it was kind of hard, especially, you know, especially Boston. When Boston was kind of racist, you know. I shouldn't say kind of, it was, you know, but coming to California was probably the best thing I ever did. It was like, with my education, coming to California, I was like a genius. So
Okay.
yeah.
Have you ever met any famous people in history? Like I know you met Martin Luther. I mean, Muhammad Ali.
Hmm.
Anyone famous other than that? You took a picture with Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, well, I met, what was that lawyer's name that was close to the Clintons? Man, he headed the Urban League for a while too. I forget his name, but he was pretty well known. And let's see who else.
Were you part of any historical events like the March on Washington or anything like
Oh
that?
yeah, we went down to March on Washington. It was against the Vietnam War, and I had a picture of me in the next day's paper. I was right outside the fence, and took the paper back and pinned it up on the wall in the Urban League. And the next day it was gone. I think the FBI took it.
Okay. And we didn't really talk about religion, but do you have faith? Are you big religious? Did you grow up with religion in the house?
Yeah, I grew up with religion, was baptized and everything, but
What are your beliefs now?
it's all BS now.
All right.
I think the Bible's a book of fairy tales.
Okay, so I think just in closing, Dad, I just want to know, do you have any favorite stories about your parents and siblings that you want to talk about before we close? Anything that comes to mind? Anything that you guys used to do together, or anything that you have a fond memory of growing up as it relates to your parents and siblings?
Just, our trips to Virginia every year. We used to have fun. Mom would cook up the traditional fried chicken, and we'd stop in New York along the Colonnade and have a big old picnic. But back then, it took about 16 hours to drive from Boston to Virginia. That was before 95 and all that. So we had some good times, good old road trips. And Dad was always into history. We'd go to Monticello, Mount Vernon, where they captured John Wilkes Booth, stuff like that. So those are the kind of fun things I remember.
Now you're 84 tomorrow.
84 tomorrow, feeling good?
How has the world changed over the years?
Not much. You 2 steps forward, 1 step back,
As it relates to what?
Racism, police brutality, gun violence, Roe v. Wade is the same stuff we fight over and over and over, and it just
Would you say things have gotten any better, or?
some ways they have, and some ways they're pretty much the same. It's it's hard for black folks to really get ahead. Every time we get ahead, they burn us out or something. I tell you, I'm glad I'm at my age now where I really don't care what happens. It's a sad statement. I worry about my grandkids like Liam and Bella. But
Tell us about your grandkids. We didn't talk about them.
oh man, our great grandkids, Liam, he's tall as I am, maybe a tad taller with his
full
fro.
name? What's his full name?
Liam Talbot Fogarty.
All right. Now, where does
And
the
then-
Talbot come from?
Yes. And then
Where did you get the name Talbot?
my dad, Leon Talbot.
Yeah. All right.
And then my granddaughter Isabella, love her to death. She's sweet as she can be, and always was sweet. I can remember her as a little baby, and then when her grandma died, and everybody was running around the house, and she hardly knew me, but she just ran up to me all of a sudden and jumped in my lap, and that made me feel good.
Right. Well, maybe one day you'll be blessed with great grandchildren,
Yeah.
and what would you say to maybe future descendants me and Erica, descendants that you might not meet. Anything you might want to say?
Just be proud of your habits and heritage. We go back to the revolution. Before the revolution, we fought in the revolution. We fought in the Civil War. So just be proud of your heritage.
All right. Well, I think that I'm gonna conclude this interview.
Okay.
And
yeah. And Randy, you said you're gonna put your dad on.
He went to bed. He said he's on a.
Okay, well, don't wake him. Let him get some
Hi,
sleep.
Randy. Yeah, we're all here. Hey, good to see you. Celebrating the big 8-4. So
Happy birthday.
thank you for doing all this. This is so cool. The interview question. Who wrote all the interview questions?
it came from UCLA.
Oh, it's an actual. Okay, got it. That's so neat.
Yeah.
How many hazards have you done?
So he's still.
That was the first. We got to get through the siblings, and we're going to track down Reggie, trying to do as many as possible. I got to ask you some questions probably another time about like Gloucester nightlife, all the different venues.
Okay. I can tell you about that.
All right, Randy. Good job, cuz. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, good talking with you, Randy.
Hi, Randy. Yes, hi to everyone too. Bye.
All right, you can go ahead and.